Hello everyone, welcome back to another beer versus beer. I've got another video featuring one of my favorite styles, Doppelbock. Today I've got a German versus an American Doppelbock. I know we all probably guess who's gonna likely win this. Now, for transparency's sake, I have had the Westbrook, it's called Low and Slow Doppelbock. This is brewed just outside of Charleston in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. This came at the recommendation of one of the people at my local bottle shop. They had said, oh, we got a new Doppelbock in. They knew I liked Doppelbocks. They recommended this. I also happened on my own to notice that they had this Ettaler, which I had never seen. Ettaler. Never seen it before. It says... well, I'm assuming it means since 1609. Oh, gegründet, G-E-G-R is short, probably gegründet, founded in 1609. Historic recipe curator. I'm curious about this. I've never even heard of it before. So it's from Ettaler, Germany, which makes sense given its name. And it comes in at 9%, whereas the Westbrook Low and Slow comes in at 8.2%. Anyway, I'm very interested to get into this, so let's get started. I will admit, I typically am nervous about craft beers imitating my favorite German styles. I'm usually disappointed, but I have had the Westbrook Low and Slow, and I was pleasantly surprised. As you guys know, I did review another one, the Dissolver Cryo Sleep, which was another American one, and it didn't even taste like a Doppelbock to me. This one actually does, and I actually thought for an American Doppelbock it was fairly good, and it wasn't overly expensive. You know, one of my pet peeves is when an American craft beer imitates a German or Belgian style, for instance, is not as good and yet costs more than the German style that it's imitating. And so I'm like, well, why am I going to pay more for a beer that doesn't taste as good when I can get the imported version for cheaper? Like, no thanks. That's me. I know a lot of people are into the craft beers, but it's one reason I tend to mostly do imports, to be honest, because it's just hard for me to find craft beers and micro brews that I actually like. And I actually don't know which status Westbrook has, if it's craft or micro brew, or I don't know. I couldn't even tell off the top of my head what the difference is. I know it has to do with distribution or amount produced per year or something. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into it. Let's see. Oh yeah, the Ettaler right off the bat has those traditional Doppelbock notes of like dark fruits, like maybe dates, prunes, like just deep, rich malt flavor or aroma. I love that. I love Doppelbocks. I do notice very similar notes on the Westbrook with the added sort of hoppy, spicy note. Like almost a hint of that like grapefruit juice kind of scent that I typically find much stronger on IPAs. And you guys know I'm not an IPA fan. But the hop note, the floral, intense hop note, kind of bitter note is present as well, and might even be more noticeable than the Doppelbock undertones on this. But if you take in a deep breath, you can smell the date, prune sort of Doppelbock tone in the malt. All right, let's go ahead. Since I haven't had the Ettaler before, I'll start with that. Okay, so it's similar. I can tell it's a Doppelbock. If you gave this to me blind, I would say, oh, I think this is a Doppelbock. It is reminiscent of like the Corbinian and the Andex Doppelbock Dunkler. Yeah, great flavor. Quite smooth, actually. I don't want to say watered down, but from memory, it's not as intense as those other ones. But this actually could be a good competitor to go up against Andex, and maybe even Corbinian. Yeah, I need to find Salvatore again. I had it once. It was probably the first Doppelbock I ever tried, but they don't carry it locally that I've seen. I'd have to go a little bit further south to get it from where I got it the first time. All right, I'm really enjoying the Ettaler, I'm not going to lie. Okay, yeah. I'd say in general, on both of these, you get on the flavor what you get on the scent, the aroma. It's sort of like a Doppelbock with a hint of, I want to say IPA, but it's not that strong. It's just a hint. It is a hint of it, that bitterness. Not overly bitter. It actually balances it out pretty well, which you guys know from me is a sticking point. I'm also getting some like coffee notes on this. On the Westbrook. Reminds me a little bit of a stout, actually. Which if you guys saw the cryo sleep video, to me that one was basically, it just tasted like an imperial stout. It didn't taste like a Doppelbock to me. This one still has some of the notes of a Doppelbock, much more so than the cryo sleep from Dissolver. But yeah, still a very noticeable hop character. So actually, I would say that the Ettaler is more reminiscent of like the Corbinian and the Andex, as I said. And this Westbrook Low and Slow is more reminiscent of the Ettaler Celebrator or Celebrator, which also has a more hoppy finish to it. So that would be a decent comparison to do between this Westbrook versus Ettaler. I know for a lot of people, Ettaler Celebrator is the number one Doppelbock. Go back and see my other videos where I feature that one. But that might be a future episode to consider doing. But yeah, this is actually quite tasty. It's got a bitterness to it that I can actually appreciate. I'm pretty impressed with this. I have to say, Westbrook has done a great job. And I think it would speak to people who like both Doppelbocks and more bitter beers. So kudos to Westbrook. Yeah, you really get the dates and stuff out of it when you do the retro nasal as well. That helps bring those notes out, which I appreciate. But at the same time, you guys know me. I prefer the more malt forward, less hoppy beers. And so I'm going to have to go with Ettaler. But it's no knock against Westbrook. Again, I'm very impressed that an American craft or microbrewery was able to accomplish what it did with this. So I do recommend that you pick this up, especially if you like hoppy beers. So yeah, cheers. Well done, Westbrook. Congratulations to Ettaler. See you next time.